to really make sure that you stop. I mean, we all have crazy lives, let's face it, and that's the society. So I give them the opportunity to just stop and reflect on where they're at, who they are, what really matters, how do they want to serve, and so on.
Hello, my beautiful world. Elle Ballard is here today on our next podcast episode with beautiful Caroline. Hi, Caroline. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. Hello.
Yes, great to see you, my friend. I'm excited for this conversation. Before we jump on, I'm going to introduce Caroline first. So Caroline is a mother of 3 kids with 2 career transitions. Having lived, studied, and worked abroad, she has always taken bold decisions in her personal and professional life to stay 100% alive, balanced, and joyful. I love that. Today, she thrives guiding women finding more purpose, joy, and balance in their lives. She's an international coach, facilitator, and speaker. She's certified in integral coaching, which is a realignment of 3 centers of intelligence: cognitive, emotional, and somatic. Emotional intelligence and NVC, which stands for non-violent communications. Beautiful. Welcome, Caroline. There's so much to talk about here. I love that. So my first question I usually like to ask when I introduce new participants is how did you start doing this and why you chose this field for your business?
I think it went in a very organic way because I realized that my real gift in life, whether it was in PR, my first career, or in teaching, my second career, and coaching and facilitating, is really how to really see. I really have this gift of seeing people for who they really are and not what they are trying to pretend or, under their mask. And I see that straight away. And I often say to my clients that basically a very simple way of putting how I work is I kind of let go and let them thrive on their own when they can finally see themselves in the mirror, what I saw in them straight away. So I really have this ability to not only see their gifts and make them express themselves authentically. And I think that's what I did all my life. I've always been very authentic in the good and in the less good way. This is who I am, with my gifts and my faults, but I've always really been okay with who I am and shifted my career every time with what made sense at the time. So obviously my choices at 25 were different from 35, from 45, and I've always really been connected to my emotions and to really know. So that's the emotional intelligence, in the cognitive, emotional, and somatic. And I think that's what I'm really good at. And from what I've been through myself, I just take so much pleasure, joy, and satisfaction to unstuck women who are really, successful, great jobs, great responsibilities, great income, but just so unfulfilled, so, on autopilot and following up what is expected of them rather than really what matters to them. And that's a constant change in life. As I said, different age, different needs. And to really make sure that you stop. I mean, we all have crazy lives, let's face it, and that's the society. So I give them the opportunity to just stop and reflect on where they're at, who they are, what really matters, how do they want to serve, and so on. But yeah, I think it starts, really from day one, from this ability that I have to make people talk. I've always had, Caro, even in my personal life, you're the only one that makes me cry like this, I've always had this natural ability to provide that safe space for people to be truly themselves. And it's through that you can really, destructure and make sure that you understand your path, you bring more self-awareness and more clarity in moving forward in your decisions.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, having worked the job in the past for myself that brought good income, but that fulfillment piece, good income and experience, I should say, but that fulfillment piece, I started missing on it at some point. So I definitely can relate and fully understand what is it that you mean, but also why you do this kind of work. And it's so important, right? I don't know why it's just so hard to, I guess because of the programming, right? That
it's exactly that. It's the programming, it's the society we live in, it's the expectations. People, women, men, students. I used to be a teacher. I also really loved working with like young new executives. They're 30, and it's the same whether it's high achievers at 40 or 50 with, as I said, a very successful career, or those kind of 28, 30 years old executive. They are full of their diplomas, they're like certification, like they're highly qualified.
yeah.
Why? Because they, or at least that's, the people that I work with, they've ticked all of the boxes of, what school expected, what parents expected, what the society expected. But what do they actually really want? What are they really gifted for? What do they actually naturally do with passion, with joy? Because I strongly believe, that's another thing I haven't said, that the only way to sustain a really long-term happy and successful career is when you put your heart into it. What brings you joy? And there's a lot of things we can all do, no problem. I can, do marketing and everything. I just don't take any joy out of it, right? So, and it's really, it's not what you can do, it's what you would like to do, what you want to do. And I think, unfortunately, we live in a world where, there are so many expectations, and not to mention, being results oriented and so on. And the results matter much more than the process, and that it's hard. I always say that my clients and myself, that's what I said in the intro. That's what you said, bold, audacious decisions. It takes courage to actually ditch a career and a pay and an income and a status and because it takes guts. Let's face it. Say, yeah, that's all great on paper, but it's just not good for me.
Yeah, I can relate, definitely. Yes, beautiful. I love it. And by the way, before I forget, it's your birthday today. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, and thank you for choosing. Yes. Thank you for choosing to celebrate your birthday. Share it with us today on our podcast.
But again, going with being alive, when you very kindly invited me to this podcast and you gave me a couple of dates, and I specifically chose that one because that's going to be a fun way to start my day. So thank you very much for inviting me on my 48th birthday today. Yes.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Along with this, this whole conversation that we're having about joy in love and fulfillment and choosing not what we were told or programmed to do, how I want to take us to your own life and life experiences and background. You were born in France. I love France. How would you say, what brings you personally joy in your life? And maybe how was your upbringing, your background experience, it has influenced it?
So I'm going to give you a very transparent and honest answer, as I am very authentic, as I would say that on the more global scheme, it's this kind of exploration. I've always loved exploring the world. So you're right. I was born, bred, and in France. Then I studied in London. I've traveled in South America. I've been living in the US for 5 years. So I really have this exploration of world, places, cultures, food, and obviously in my job, people. I find that every single person is different. Every single person has a unique way of moving through the world, and I'm just fascinated. Every single coaching for me is like a privilege, to really get into that depth and that intimacy and that introspection with someone is just so rewarding. So I would say that kind of exploring the world that, life gave me and that I sustain, through my own decisions. And I would say that also which is the, very personal one, being in touch with my emotions so much. And that's why I understand people and I really see through their emotions and I help them to reconnect with their emotions. And that's why I decided to, after my integral coaching, certify in emotional intelligence, because I was really drawn to that. And I think it comes from the fact that, it was not always easy in my childhood. And I had to not take responsibility, but bear the the emotions of my parents and of a tricky divorce and and I think, I was forced from a very early age to gauge people emotion, to deal with people emotion, to handle people emotion, to move forward with that. And so that's why for me it's completely natural. I read a room straight away. I know exactly when I come in a room who's uncomfortable, who's who's left on the side, I just, for me it's a second nature. So I think, as ever, and I always like to say that, we all have our gifts, we all have our strength, but I think that we really become empowered when we start embracing our vulnerability, our fragile, our what really has been difficult in our life. And when we stop just rejecting it and thinking that, oh, we don't want to go there, it's when you actually say, yes, that's also part of me, but that's what makes me who I am today. And I really strongly believe that my vulnerability is also my strongest strength.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And that connects really, and gives more understanding and connection why you chose to do this work. I can totally relate about the diverse experiences and cultures and food. I absolutely love that as well, myself, and tasting and international travels, and so I can definitely relate. But sharing more of your personal experience and upbringing and growing up, what you had to go through, really gives a good sheds lights and gives good perspective into why you chose this field.
I often say there is no light if there's no shadow, there's no shadow if there's no light, right? So even though I've made all of my decisions to stay, as I say, 100% alive, every time I started being a little bit less committed, a little bit less invested, a little bit bored, boom, I would switch to something different. But again, there is no light without a shadow. And this is what I mean by integrating all parts of who we are and not rejecting some. And I think that's the tendency, again, that we all tend to do. I mean, I did that for a lot of years until I started really working on myself and understanding that that's really where my power was, when I really embraced that and kind of, reconciliated myself with my, more upsetting history.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful. And emotional, it's just so important, right, in building the business and everything that we have to go through building a business. I'm speaking about business, but we also have other parts of our lives. We have our families, we have our partners, we have all these life areas, our own emotional health, well-being. And especially in the business of today's world, it's so important to really pay good attention to, and pause and understand, why am I feeling this particular way, or vulnerability, why I'm feeling vulnerable right now. I love that. That actually brings me to our next question. We are talking on Empowered Global Women in Business podcast, and women building businesses, and we all have different backgrounds that also affect our thinking, our emotions. I know for me personally, business building is every single day is a beautiful journey. First and foremost of my own expansion. And looking in myself, where I was yesterday versus where I am today is such a beautiful transformation for me, and one of the reasons why I love being in business for myself and receiving this growth in so many areas. For you, in your experience building your own practice, and kind of combining your life experiences and then building this with your clients and building your expertise with your clients and going through all the lessons, what would you say was one of the biggest lessons of building a business as a multinational woman? And I can say international business because you have an international certification, international speaker. What would you say was your biggest lesson?
I think I would really second you on what you just said. It's growing a business is growing yourself. So it's that journey of, and I would even say every single client, that we have, that we work with, give you something, you nurture you in some ways, make you grow, make you work on some of your blind spots and so on. So it's What I would say, you know, when I told you that I switched career every time I was a little bit less invested, you can never be bored when you run your own business. So it's
Yeah.
hard. Let's be very transparent. It's super hard because you're
Sure.
your own champion, you're on your own for the highs, but you're also on your own for the in the lows, and it's very hard to keep that balance and to stay, you know, committed and determined, and to never drop the ball, and to really believe in yourself all the time without having a boss or team, or, you know, that is behind you and believes in you. So it's super hard, and at the same time it is your own creation. It's you go wherever you decide. So yeah, I would say that my biggest learning, I would say honestly, my biggest learning is dealing with frustration,
Mhm.
dealing with, you know, it's not going fast enough, it's not going the way I want, and at the same, so that's for the, you know, most difficult you know, constructive feedback that I could give myself. And at the same time, it's always new, it's always different, it's always expanding, it's a never ending story. Yeah, and it's a lot of joy as well.
Building our businesses, we're really building ourselves and expanding ourselves. And every bit of a challenge that we're having in business or obstacle is really up to us. It's really there to for us to grow more. And whatever that is, the obstacle is, that's the next level for us to overcome. And it's just so interesting.
And I would say, listening to you as well, and going back to emotional intelligence,
Yes.
I would be interested to, but I never like to be just too strict in my answer, but I don't think I know any entrepreneur who doesn't give 300% of himself or herself. So I think also the common point of running your own business is you really put your whole heart in it, which is very different from being an employee where you just go, you do your job, you get your paycheck, you come out. Us, we just invest 150% of ourselves into what we do. So again, there is, you know, the pros and the cons, the price to pay from time to time, and the balance to be really paying attention to,
Mm-hmm.
and at the same time the joy that it brings us.
Oh, I so agree. And that's such a good point. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's beautiful. Um, an extension of ourselves. And we get to shape it the way we want every single day. We get to do whatever we want every single day.
Yeah.
I love that.
Emotional roller coasters,
Emotional roller coasters. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
but very rewarding. Yeah.
Yes, that is very rewarding. Yes, for sure. So speaking about business and clients, and we will, by the way, we will share Caroline links here if you are watching this on video or listening to our podcast. We will share her links, how to connect with her. But I wanted to ask you as well, Caroline, what type of clients do you tend to work with?
And I think you will probably second me on this, because we put so much heart into what we do. And I liked how you explained to me just before we jumped into this podcast about your new retreat and so on, and how you link it to your dancing and everything. It's the same, because we put so much of ourselves. I think that the people who choose us relate to us. So I think a lot of the people that I work with are, I don't like to use this term because I find it very pretentious and everything. When I say high potential, it means like, you know, people who just don't set for average, who just push themselves, who want to get out of their comfort zone, who really have this, you know, like we say in Latin, carpe diem, as in we only have one life. Let's make the most of it, and not just stay in a, you know, routine. Or I tend to attract people who know deep down that there is a bigger calling for them. There is something bigger. They don't know what, you know, they kind of, it's funny, I have so many clients in mind, boom, popping up in my head as I speak. But, you know, where they come to you, they're suffering. Obviously, they don't grab a coach if everything's working out. They know deep down in their guts something is not aligned, that something is not right, but it seems so big and so nebulous and so dark that they don't even know how to start. And my role is really to just connect the dots and make them just, you know, bring clarity and like, obviously the first thing, and just by providing, as I said, this safe space of being heard, being seen,
Yeah.
being understood, and then connecting the dots and showing them how what's happening in their personal life is actually very similar to what's happening with the boss, and which is actually very similar when they're on holiday. And so, because we all tend to compartmentalize and think that, oh yeah, I have issue in relation, but that has nothing to do with what's going on at work. Well, actually, there is a lot of links. So it's really linking everything, looking into the blind spots, gaining self-awareness so as to gain more, be much more aware, much more conscious, so as to then move forward with a lot more confidence and coherence. How can you be confident in yourself when you're in this kind of cloudy, misty, and you just don't know where you are, murky water? So my role is to get out of this murky water, bring clarity, and with the clarity comes the confidence, and with the confidence comes the moving forward in coherence with who you are. And that's very specific to every single one of us.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Some people, when you say which clients, some people come to me just because there is a disconnection with, or a difficulty to express their emotions, and they can see that, and they have absolutely no professional, wish. But often I work with people who need to clarify where they're going professionally. And so, but even though I would say that the final outcome is to decide what they're going to do professionally, 80% of the work is personal, right? It's understanding who you are to know what you're going to do professionally. But you cannot move forward in a very aligned way professionally if you don't know where you are personally, who you are, what your needs are, or what your priorities are, or what your no-goes are,
right,
and so on.
So connected. Everything is so connected.
So connected.
We tend to disconnect. Yeah, and I love how you said we separate things. Oh, this is different. Oh, this is not connected. Oh, this is completely this happened in the past, and so but in reality, subconsciously, it's all like it is connected, but we're not connecting it on the outside. And I love how you gave that example, because it's so true. And then the personal extends to business, and it's all interconnected. I love that.
We're too stuck in our head. We are stuck in our head,
Yeah.
and it's the head that gives us headache. We need the cognitive. I'm not saying that our cognitive intelligence is not important, obviously. Yeah. But it's funny how now I really look at a person as 3/3. I really literally look at a person as, 1/3 is our cognitive intelligence, 1/3 is our emotional, and 1/3 is our somatic. You have no idea how many clients come to me and don't understand why they have their heartbeat, going really fast, or why they have, dermatologist issue, or they're, lots of somatic symptoms that they are completely ignoring because they decide to put a blind eye to it, when in fact and so the somatic, soma from body, that's all of our physiological. The way I like to put it in a very simple way for people who are not into our jargon, I know you understand my jargon, Elle, but maybe people who are watching, women who are watching today, somatic is to me all of the physiological symptoms, aspects that come out, in a physiological way because they cannot be expressed with the heart. So to me, the emotional and the somatic are very linked. What's going on in our head? Generally, we're very good at that.
Yes.
But what's going on emotionally and somatically, that's where the work needs to be done.
Yeah, and I love, because I love this phrase, right? When we think, we feel. When we think, we feel. So when we think every thought, we also feel it. And a lot of the times we don't even remember that. We don't even realize that. We are so in the moment, especially if it's a stress moment. And so, yeah, I absolutely love. Thank you for sharing that. So please connect, listeners. Please connect with Caroline and learn more. It's so important how it's all connected in our bodies. And so recognizing that, and, really adopting what works and removing what doesn't. And a lot of times we don't see. That's why we need someone to bring someone so they can help us see, right? Because we don't.
I would say it's the same for everyone. Even when we need, it's not a matter of,
oh yeah,
do for a job. What I can do in a very good way with my clients, I still find it difficulty to do it with myself.
Yes.
It's really having this, as I said, this mirror. And it's the way I look at my coaching, it's a constant back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's a sounding board that makes you get all of these insights, and suddenly all of the puzzle pieces are in the right place.
Yes, I was just gonna say that. Yes, so there, thank you. Definitely. So I wanna, again, happy birthday. I wanna let you celebrate your birthday, but before we do that, I'm gonna move us to our kind of final part of our podcast here. We are going through the rapid fire questions. And I only have five questions. Are you ready?
I hope I am.
Okay, the first question is, your favorite book name is?
I would say it's just there. Oh, I have two: Nonviolent Communication from Marshall Rosenberg, and I would say The Power of Now from Eckhart Tolle.
Oh, no. Beautiful. Okay. Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Favorite international destination to visit?
South America.
Summer or winter?
It's hard to choose, but summer.
Yeah. Okay, and the final question is, things that you have discovered about yourself recently.
That I am much stronger than I thought I was.
Beautiful. Thank you for playing.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes.
I'm very happy that I got to meet you and that you're doing this super networking group with all of these women on an international level. It's really great.
Thank you. Thank you, Caroline. Yes, thank you for taking the time on your birthday to be on our podcast. And I also very happy that we have met, and I'm looking forward for another cup of coffee with you here in the Bay Area. But have a very happy birthday. Enjoy this day, this beautiful day. Celebrate yourself. And I'm sending you lots of love and kiss. I'm going to give you a hug when I see you next. And thank you, everyone. And we'll see you all soon.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.